Greetings, everybody. This week's review will be Bloodshot, starring Vin Diesel, Guy Pearce, and Eiza Gonzalez. Overall, I'm going to describe this as if 2020 was an action movie, it would be Bloodshot. I mean, first off, you take a comic book that isn't made for kids and try to make it for kids, and especially from a comic that isn't DC or Marvel, yeah, that ain't gonna work. I mean, might have had some success. Sony might have some success with Venom, but Bloodshot is not in the same caliber. I mean, although I kind of had low expectations and all, and very yeah, ever since they passed over Jason David Frank for the role of Bloodshot, and I mean, I discovered the comic book from his Facebook page, and a lot of people discovered that when Jason Frank did that, and the guys at Bat and Son did their little fan film or web series. Although I've seen it while only watching it like a super cut where they put all the episodes in one, made it one movie. And I'll just say that gets a 5 out of 5 compared to this 1-star abomination. I mean, just first, I mean, kind of like first they pass over Jason Frank. I mean, the man was perfect for Bloodshot. I mean, and he brought awareness to it and helped promote the comic. I mean, it would have been that would have been perfect. Instead, that Sony store chose star power over comic accuracy, and I'm just like I said, if 2020 was an action movie, matter of fact, this has got to be the worst action movie ever made. Forget Ballistics X vs. Sever or Fantastic, or 2015 Fantastic Four, which those will be for other reviews, but this one's so bad it makes the worst DC and Marvel movies look as masterpieces as the good counterparts are. I mean, not only did they take it and take a well-established in a brutal character like Bloodshot and try to make it PG-13, but none of this movie was basically comic accurate. I mean, one of the only good parts was a Psycho Killer being in the soundtrack and being movie Bloodshot's trigger song for so-called fake memories and all, because that's about the only part of the film I ever got right. And making Rides in Spirit like a private company instead of a government operation, that is no. I mean, plausibility would have been more like government or so. I mean, after all, Bloodshot is kind of used basically nothing more. I love the comic and all, but it's nothing more than a Universal Soldier rep-off. I mean, the character in the comic, he's like T-1000 meets Luke Devereaux from Universal Soldier. Well, of course, those would be for other reviews, but this and Bloodshot is terrible. And I like Vin Diesel. I mean, come on, all the good parts are in the trailer. Even a little bit of Easter egg where it made him look comic accurate. I mean, the poster for the movie was more comic accurate than this abomination. I mean, I don't fault the director, given it was the first time movie Dave Wilson ever made. But come on. I see with Studio Universal making it PG-13. I see why Chad Stahelski of John Wick fame passed on it. because of creative control killed what could have been a good cinematic universe. Man, Bloodshot. I mean, I give Vin Diesel and Asa Gonzalez A for effort, but Guy Pearce as a villain, a little A for effort, but not a good performance, but just straight up left field. The whole movie was. I mean, they didn't even make Vin Diesel look like Bloodshot to begin with. Over in the poster and a few shots of action and a rare percent of any action that was in this movie. I mean, for a movie called Bloodshot, I mean, there isn't hardly any even blood. I mean, it's about like false advertising. I mean, and back to making like a private company, Rising Spirit, instead of like knockoff, a universe knockoff of DARPA. Man, I don't know who they were trying not to pander to, but it was definitely not the right audience. I mean, what is it? I mean, what makes studios think that taking well established adult characters like Bloodshot and figure out why they make it PG-13? That's like that's like G-rated Punisher. That's how stupid it is. And I've seen some PG-13 sequels that were to R-rated to RoboCop and Terminator that were better than this. Which, of course, to my loyal followers, this will be there will be reviews for those too. So, but I'd say one good part was like it scene where he jacks a dually pickup, and I'm just like, kind of like an Easter egg at a comic where there's a few issues where I think it was Bloodshot USA would just run around in a in a red in a burgundy Ford, which watching that I just had to make a Fast and Furious joke about how the only time you ever see Dom Toretto in a Ford. I mean, Vin Diesel. I don't fault you for making this, but should have been Jason David Frank playing this role. I mean, it could have been a good career redemption. I mean, to where he wouldn't have been no longer typecast as Tommy. I mean, come on. I mean, if Robert Downey Jr. could use Iron Man to bounce back from being a washed up crackhead. No disrespect if you're watching this, Robert Downey Jr., but come on. Excellent career. I mean, half the fan base discovered Bloodshot from Frank's little Bat in the Sun film. And I mean, oof. Like I say, the final verdict, Bloodshot, which is almost a first for Debo's Films reviews, for a film that solely gets a video that solely gets a 1 star. Count them, 1. 1 star of a, this is the first because if you watched X-Men reviews part 1 and part 2, that's explained there, but this is a first for a sole movie by itself, without reviewing sequels or whatnot. But like I said, 1 out of 5. I mean, worst action movie ever, to quote Simpsons comic book guy. I mean, I mean, just don't water down. I'm just like, watered down adaptations of R-rated comic book characters is not the way to go, especially if it's Valiant or something. And I had hopes for comic books that were not DC and Marvel characters to get their equal share of success. I mean, like Hellboy did for Dark Horse, and Turtles did for IDW, and Judge Dredd too, and which those were reviews for those too, but way to give the finger to Valiant, Sony. Stick to Spider-Man adaptations, because they can afford to be watered down and all, because, well, Spider-Man villains anyway, just standalone villains. But nobody wants to see G-rated Punisher. Like, I mean, even if there wasn't a pandemic, this movie would have flopped, given how the pandemic did affect movie sales and all, but it didn't stop Bloodshot from being a 1-star worst action movie ever. I mean, hardly marketed as an action character, yet there's hardly any action. I mean, it's like almost all the good parts were in the trailer. I mean, Bloodshot's supposed to be bloody. I mean, brutal. I mean, the comics makes Universal Soldier look like Mr. Rogers. Now Universal Soldier, yeah, I'm just stop myself there, because I wound up, because I only got enough video to do a review for one movie, which, of course, there'll be a review for Universal Soldier too. So, but come on, this is not how you do a comic book movie. How to do a comic book movie, let alone one of a character that isn't for kids. I mean, it's like, I mean, only good was like the references. What's true was it was like that poster which showed them in the comic book form, and in that ambush scene, and Aizen Gonzalez, it was practically the only good reason to watch that movie was that she's a good actress, and practically the only one in that movie who could really act. Did a good acting in that movie. And man, I'll just say, if you're for Bloodshot fans, just stick to the Ninjak and Valiant universe from Bat the Sun. Skip this, and stick to the comics, because this is about the biggest insult to the biggest abomination of comic book movies, of worst comic book movie I've ever seen and worst action movie I've ever seen. I mean, of a 1 out of 5. Hope you enjoyed the review. Enjoy if you dare.